What's happening, everybody? Lloyd Phillips here with the Life and Times podcast. This week, it's about school dances. A new sponsorship with the Route 66 Native Arts Alliance. I'd check them out. You can catch that at the first of the show. And, what about the days? Did Netflix ruin movies? I don't think so, because I never like to rewind anyway. Blockbuster made you rewind. Love everybody. Let's just get to the show. Welcome back to the Life and Times podcast. I'm your host, Lloyd Phillips.
And my name is Leighton Rowan.
What up, Leighton? This was an interesting time. I was busy this weekend. I was super busy. I flew in. I announced a basketball game. They won the district championship. That in itself wasn't real exciting. But the and then I DJ'd the middle school dance.
Yeah, you did.
This is the super night of awkwardness. But these kids are a little different around here than when I was a kid, because we used to dance with girls. Like, you'd be like, hey, do you want to dance? And they would say yes. And it didn't even matter. It didn't have to be your girlfriend or anything like that. It wasn't like high drama. They don't do these. They don't do that.
What do they do?
Boys dance with boys, girls dance with girls, but not in like a weird way.
Like
they don't want to go ask anybody else, so they just like stay in their circles. And then when you play the songs they all know, everybody runs and jumps around together, and then you play a slow song, and it goes right back to what I just said. It's the oddest. They don't know it. These kids don't know anything about Locust Grove community building dances.
No.
Yeah. And I just thought about that, because anytime I play songs, I try to make them clean. I make them clean, or we don't play them at all. It made me think about those dances when I was a kid. No. There was no clean version. Whatever the song was, that was what you played.
Yeah.
Only. So anyway, I don't know, for those of you that just heard, but teamed up with the Native American Arts Alliance, which is cool, and it's this gallery, and so I wasn't going to put it in the commercial part because it would have been too long-winded. But for anybody that's now listening, so it's this thing in Catoosa, and there's a lot of art, like paintings, sculptures. It's art, and it's everywhere. It's all over the building, and it's fascinating, and it's awesome, like the talents that people have. Not to like run that into the ground, but here's where I was going with it. This weekend, before the dance, I attended a moccasin class.
That's cool.
Yeah, put on by this kid, Patrick Knowles, who I know his whole family. He didn't know me. I know who he is, but he doesn't know me. I'm just friends with his family. And so I signed up. I saw it on Facebook. I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool, because what people don't know is about a year ago, 6 months to a year ago, I was looking up how to make moccasins. Now, what is called the Cherokee traditional moccasins is not what I had in mind, but it doesn't matter. I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. I want to take it. So I went there and I made moccasins. That's when I start talking to these people, and then they found out about the podcast and they're all excited. Well, the whole world who listens to this thing, that we make this thing clean, and we don't say anything controversial. It's it's just a thing that I chose to do. Just so I feel like anybody can listen and nobody's ever going to get offended. So I'm like telling these people, I'm like, oh yeah, I got this podcast, and I said just what I said. It's clean, the family's listening, it's good and all that. And it just so happened to be the very first episode where we let a cuss word go. And I'm telling these ladies at this thing, and they're like, what's the name of it? I was like, oh, it's Life and Times Podcast. And I don't even think, right? Because to be honest, you name the titles. I don't name them anymore. And so I was like, yeah, it's good. And I'm just telling them to look it up, like, oh, that's good. And even one of those guys said, I'm just reading the titles here. I think you might be right up my alley. I have no idea. and then I go look after I'm showing these 60 to 70-year-old ladies my podcast, and the name of the episode is Bidets and Nut Flicking.
Oops.
So their first go, and I'm like saying, it's cool, man. It's for families, and we're talking about bidets and nut flicking.
Yeah, that was Leighton's bad.
On
the titling.
Yeah, but for any new people that's listening right now, it's hornet nut flicking. The 6-year-old does. I don't know what. I'm not doing it. Blame it on the 6-year-old. If you're new this week listening, I don't know what you want me to tell you. But anyway, hey, just so you know, and I'll get it out. There's memberships. So there's artist memberships. If you're a Native American artist, a tribal card's required. You can sign up for this annual membership fee. It's $50. And then just a supporting membership. If you're not native, it doesn't matter if you are or you aren't, but if you're not an artist, it's a $100 membership. This thing, it is a nonprofit, but it's a pretty awesome thing. And the reason that I found it to be so cool, because where I grew up in this little town, Locust Grove, Oklahoma, for anybody that's not from around here, there was one Native American, there's more than that, but there was one big, like major Native American artist where people knew all over the country. His name's Willard Stone. He's not alive anymore, but Willard Stone. So you see these pieces that Willard Stone would do, and when you see him, it's almost like you could know that that's a Willard Stone piece just because of how he does it. So I show up at this building. There's a guy I've known my whole life. He's my dad's friend who has sculptures in that. I had no idea that he did that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but you got to know this guy. He's from my childhood memory. I haven't seen him in a long time. He's older now, so he may have gray hair, but he had jet black hair and he had the most lavish beard ever. And he was like the sexiest bow hunter every time he went to the woods. I don't even know if I'm going to say his name because he didn't actually want to promote him. So yeah, his name's Charlie Nichols, and all I know about him, he's the greatest outdoorsman I've known in my lifetime. And I walk in there, and I guess I don't even know what he did for a living, but he's retired, and he sculpts, he carves, does carving. I'm going to have to learn if I'm going to start this podcast. Oh, for those of you that don't know, it's not, what's in the works is I'm actually going to do a Native American arts podcast. And I realize it's going to have 5 listeners to start with, but this thing's going to happen. And actually I'm going to have an office there at this Arts Alliance. And so I think it's going to be cool, and you'll get to know a lot about people and like I know it's not the Lifetimes podcast, but their creative visions and how they do it. So I'm always shocked because I heard that guy didn't start doing that till he got older.
Oh, wow. But
if you see what he created, I don't even know how. I just don't know how people have that mind, really. So anyway, yeah, that was cool. So we got a couple more listeners, maybe. I don't.
Oh yeah, we will.
Well, I don't know if that was the episode where they're like, I really like this guy talking about bidets and nut flick, and I like both of those. You know, I don't think that's a thing that people just get into typically. And so anyway, what I do? Oh yeah, I did that dance. There's nothing really to speak of. You know, I mean, I was playing them sweet jams. I'm sure I made love connections again because you know when Daddy starts playing them hits, because people start falling in love. And I said all that to say I walked you through my day to get to this part. So last night, because I got those moccasins, so I actually knew my friend. He's an Indian dancer. He's in the Delaware tribe. I know he's an Indian dancer. So I didn't tell him. I just took my regular shoes off and I put them on, and he's like, oh yeah, you got those moccasins? And he like got up, and he was gone for like 3 minutes. So I assumed I knew what he was doing, and I was correct. He walks out with his moccasins and his bare toes or whatever he has around his calves and all this other stuff, like trying to one up me. But ours are more lightweight than the Delawares. Theirs look like regular shoes. They copied people. We invented these. We had the first moccasins.
Oh
yeah, for sure. Anyway, so I'm sitting there, and our buddy that I'm not going to say his name because he said don't say his name. I was like, okay. He's from Claremore, but he looks like he grew up in native Iceland, and he bought his wife a tanning bed, but he's been using it himself. So he just looks like the Red Lobster is what he looks like. Like you're not going to be mocha. He's just red. I don't know if you're like super white. You don't tan. And I don't know. Well, I don't know what effort he's given.
You're not going to be mocha.
Yeah, he's just not. And right now, he smelled like cocoa butter and hair gel. So I think he probably bought one of those little bunny stickers, that people used to put on them. I'm going to buy him some tiny goggles for his birthday.
Oh, you need to.
But have you ever tanned ever?
Not in a day of my life.
Well, I'm just saying because like people put they'll put the little eye circles.
Oh, yeah.
I have been in a tanning bed. I didn't put eye circles on.
You didn't. You just close your eyes.
Yeah, because they'll make it wide around your eye. Like you look dumb if you do that. Anyway, I just thought that was an odd thing because spray tan's a thing now because it turns out skin cancer's a thing.
Yeah.
We're in the 2023s buying tanning beds
Oh,
for their bedroom. He's like, yeah,
trying to get that mocha tint.
I'm about to get this bronze on. He's like, I bought tanning bronzer. I was like, yeah, I know. I can smell it from across the room. Smells like peaches and cream, cocoa butter. What about for anybody that can see the video? What about the 70-ounce Sonic cup?
Yeah, no kidding. We should, by now, the amount of times we've had Sonic drinks on this podcast, we should be a sponsor.
Yeah,
Or they should be a sponsor.
well, according to what you told Javi last week, I'm burning them down. I'm burning down.
Yeah,
sponsors.
I don't think you've done Sonic though.
Yeah, that's because we love Sonic. But we're also pushing now this Route 66 Native Arts Alliance.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, Charlie Nichols is over there doing hand
He's
sculptures.
just whittling wood.
Yeah, he is
it
whittling
wood?
Well,
Are the sculptures wood or are they?
well, what's funny is I talked about it earlier and I said carvings.
Oh, yeah, carving.
Like, so I don't. I'm gonna do a Native American arts podcast, and I don't even know. So you're a carver. This is good.
Oh yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah, he's a top carver.
Yeah, he's the top carver on.
How
the
long
side
have you
of
been
the-
carving? That Charlie guy would be like, well, when I was out there pro bow hunting, I used to take my arrow out like that. He's like, I was carving trees. I haven't talked to that guy. I don't know if I've ever actually spoken to the guy. I've been standing with him in my dad's conversations a lot in my childhood. And I remember his wife was a teacher and I wasn't in her class. I've never spoken to that lady ever. And she was a teacher. I'm sure she probably yelled at me at some point, but I never wasn't in her class.
Yeah.
No reason to talk to her. But I wonder if she knew that he could do that. What an amazing talent. Carving.
My grandfather, it's not carving, but he makes arrowheads.
I don't think it's carving at all.
No, but like growing up, he would always make arrowheads, and he's not Native American. I don't believe any at all in his blood, but he was just very fascinated with Native Americans.
Yeah.
And so I'll have to bring some out. Maybe when you start that podcast, I'll show some of his art because it's actually incredible.
Well, I do know how to make arrowheads, and what makes me laugh, humor, is that I will go to the creek or the lake, and I'll find flint, and I'll make arrowheads, and I'll throw them in the water. Just because, like somebody's like, I found one! Yeah. I wonder what period this is from. Last week on the lake. Like I do that a lot when I go to the creek or the water, just out of humor, because I want people to be like, look at this.
I found a whole one.
I'm going to have to learn this. We're going to get in this art. What are those? There's these arrowheads. There's a Tyler Childers song, and he talks about arrowhead hunting. Mm-hmm. And there's the super rare one. They're this long, and it's worth like $1 million. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah. See, here's where I could have interesting content. I'm not that interesting of a person. I just know people that know stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my friend Luke gave me an hour lecture on arrowheads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought it was pretty fascinating, though I wasn't into it.
You didn't retain any of that?
Well, I'm just fake arrowhead making.
Yeah.
It's my most favorite thing to do. So here, all right, I'll tell this story. So I used to do pipeline work. And in the pipeline world, when you're digging excavations, there's a few things that you would shut the job down for. But sometimes you're always behind. It seems like you're always behind. And so if you find bones of any kind, you'll shut it down because you don't know what it is and all. So, which is what you're supposed to do. Like any kind of artifacts or anything old, like you would shut it down. Nobody on site, I'm assuming, would know any rare species of bugs, but like stuff like that, you're supposed to shut it down. And I was teaching this class one time. This is a 2-part story, but I was teaching this class, and some place in Texas. This guy owned the company. He had been an excavator for 50 years. And so I was teaching this class, like, hey, what do you do when you find this? And he yells from the back of the room. He's like, keep going. It costs you money. And I said, what? And he said, we found bones a lot before. He said, I ain't shutting that down. He said, I can shut the whole job down. He said, I lost money because they shut a job down. So I'm like, so when you just find like old fossils, or whatever, he's like, keep it moving.
Oh my gosh.
That's what he said. Anyway, so you fast forward to this other job that I was on, and the superintendent, he was not being a nice guy. And I could make arrowheads. And I made this arrowhead. I was like, if you keep talking, I'm going to throw this in this hole. We'll shut this whole thing down. Because he was like, I didn't like him in real life.
Yeah.
And I told him that. And it like freezes him in his tracks. If I had just said, shut your mouth, buddy. Sorry. If I had said, shut your mouth, buddy, he would have yelled back at me. But I got this arrowhead, and I'm like, you keep talking, I'm going to throw this in the hole. We'll shut this whole thing down. And he's like, you better not. Like, instead of getting mad back, he's like, you better not.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
awesome.
Well, keep talking. I'm gonna arrowhead this whole thing out. It's some kind of point. What is that thing called? Gosh, man, I don't research.
I have no clue.
Welcome back, Life and Dodge Podcast. Why am I so intense right now? Because I just put a dose of Winchester Ranch Beard Co. on my face. Not only does it nourish the upper skin, it also gets in the innards. And that's why I like it. It's paraben-free, sulfate-free, essential oils. I don't know if it actually, if you listen to my podcast, scratch essential oils. It's got oils that are essential to your face. Face oils, we call it. And I love Winchester Ranch Beard Co. I wouldn't carry anything else. I carry it in my bag every week. I fly to different states all the time, and I don't leave home without Winchester Ranch Beard Co. All the essential oils. I personally have AM Lumber in my arsenal right now, and the other three, but that's what I'm rolling. Winchester Ranch Beard Co. American Survival Co. Three things. They're American, they're in survival, and they're a company. And that's why they came up with American Survival Co. And here's the thing. We love American Survival Co. They're one of the top survival schools in the entire world. They have 2 locations. It's an awesome place. But I tell you what they do also. You know, the owners, they were on a Netflix special, Snowflake Mountain, which was an acclaimed hit, by the way. Check them out, AmericanSurvivalCo.com. Love you guys. Let's get back to the show. Clovis Points.
Yeah, that's what I said.
What, you already said that?
Yeah.
When did you say that?
When you said, oh, it's the long one, I was like, oh, yeah, it's Clovis Point.
You didn't say that.
Yeah, I did.
I'll hear it on the replay, but I don't think you did.
Yes, you will.
Well, anyway, yeah, that one. I'm not sure how I got all sidetracked about it. Oh, yeah. Oh, because I've recently teamed up with the Route 66 Native Arts Alliance.
Yeah, he has an office there now.
Yeah, see how I do that? This is good. Yeah, go pick up your sponsorships now, everybody. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you can go get it. Daddy said it. I'm really promoting this one hard, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have you ever heard of Yo-Yo Ma?
What the heck is that?
You don't know who that is?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's a world famous cello player.
That's why I don't know.
He's like world famous.
Not famous enough for me to know.
So I was thinking this the other day, though, and I was thinking this with certain NFL players. You could make assumptions about them if they're standing beside you, but certain NFL players, I'm not going to put basketball players in this category, but maybe certain football players, pro golfers. That was it. There's famous people all over, but they're famous and they're rich from their sport. And if they stood right beside me, I wouldn't have any idea who they were. Mm-hmm. Like, because I was watching a show the other day. It was on Netflix, and it was about golfers, and it was like following them behind the scenes. And I'm watching them, and there's 2 people I know their names, like you said on leaderboards or whatever. I could have sat beside them on the plane 8 times, and I don't have any idea who they are.
Yeah, there's basketball players like that. The dunk contest was last night, and the dude who did it, I've never seen that kid in my entire life.
You don't know Mac McClung?
And he was incredible.
You literally don't know Mac McClung?
No.
Then you don't watch YouTube, because he was the most dynamic high school basketball player in the middle of games at 6'2", would do special moves and dunking on people's faces.
I've never seen him in my life.
He's famous from being a child dunker.
Well, maybe I've seen YouTube videos, but I couldn't put the name with the face at all. 0.
He then went to Georgetown and played at Georgetown. Started at Georgetown, and then what's the legendary coach from Georgetown? What is his name? He's been there literally like 30 years, 35 years. John
I don't know.
John, whatever Georgetown's coach is. I made that up. That's correct. That guy was there. Patrick Ewing is their coach.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
But then
before him, that guy's still in the stands. The previous coach was there. He's still at all the games. Anyway, so McClung was there, and then he left and he went to Texas Tech for his final season. He didn't get drafted, but in the games, he may just jump up and throw it between his legs and dunk it on somebody's face.
Yeah, the dude jumped over 2 people.
He did that in high school.
Grabbed the ball, kissed it off the backboard, and dunked it. Anyways, that has nothing to do with what you were saying. But
what was I saying? Just because you don't know people.
Yeah.
I just think that's odd. You ever thought somebody looked famous?
You look famous.
Well, I don't look famous.
That's fancy pantsy where you look famous.
But it's how I discovered. Well. 2 or 3 parts of Migos. I first was like, those guys are somebody.
Yeah.
Like that's how it started because they were somebody.
Yeah.
You knew it. You just see that.
Yeah, I haven't had that experience yet.
Just seeing somebody?
No. But what does that have to do with Yo-Yo? Who'd you say?
I was just making a point that these tickets the other day were $1,000 a piece at the orchestra in Pittsburgh. And I guarantee, for the most part, I'm not being rude. I'm being dead serious. That's the point I'm making. Yo-Yo Ma could have jumped in a car and drove Uber that night, and people wouldn't have had any idea.
Oh yeah,
that people just paid $1,000 a ticket to watch him play the cello.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it was a long-winded reference, but I'm just saying that's weird that somebody is like just legendary to the world, and sometimes people don't even know they are.
Yeah.
And then you have people like worst basketball player ever, LeBron James, who probably can't even walk out of his house because he gets mobbed no matter where he goes.
You didn't mean that first part.
Which part?
The worst.
Man, second worst. Anyway, so I always got these weekly stories about the plane trip. And here's the thing. I was getting on the plane the other day, and there was a lady. It was a bigger lady. I'm trying to be nice, but I don't want to be because she was rude.
Yeah.
People weren't walking in the jet bridge like when you're walking on the plane. Like, so people are supposed to just kind of keep inching forward. She wasn't moving, and people were way in there, but she wasn't moving. And so I said, "Ma'am, are you?" And I didn't know just because she wasn't moving. And they were kind of next to the counter, so I was like, "Ma'am, are you getting on?" Because I was going to pass her. She's like, "We're all getting on." I'm like, "Okay," like I didn't like that already that she talked that way, and then. You guys pray for me, but then I physically start judging in my head when people start sizing me up like that. So I'm like mad about it. so then, but she did move forward after I said that. And so she's telling the guy in front of her, I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care if you're in the military. I don't care if you're a police officer. I don't care if you're special forces. I don't care if you're foreign special dignitary. Unless you're like working at TSA, if you're going to fly regular, if you're going to be on an average passenger jet, it doesn't matter that you're a 42-year police officer in a small town. You don't have a badge. You don't show them your Chelsea PD badge and be like, I don't even have to go to security. I'm Chelsea PD. Nobody cares about that.
Yeah,
but
nobody
anyway,
cares.
But she's with this guy, and she said, "Oh, wish I was still in law enforcement." I'm hearing this. They're in front of me, and I'm already mad. I'm already still sizing her up, like. And so he's like, "Why?" She said, "Security." She said, "When I was in law enforcement," she's like, because I just had a special pass, I could just walk right through. No, you couldn't. She's like, "When I was with the county PD," he said, "Where'd you work?" "Some county." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't know that you could do that." She's like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "I could always do that." You couldn't do that, you moron. They don't let people in. Just because you're the county sheriff doesn't mean you can walk through security and have your gun. It's just pure stupidity. Not unless you got to be like a federal anything. People are stupid.
People are really dumb.
I'm like, she was telling that story and like going with it. And I didn't say anything, but I was judging her a lot.
You were thinking it.
Yeah, I was judging her a lot. I prayed for myself today. Today I did for doing that. I want to apologize to that lady. The other day I was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, what'd you do in Pittsburgh?
Went to this restaurant.
Yeah. What kind of restaurant was it, Lloyd?
This is a burger restaurant. Actually, this is actually I was at the job site and I was hungry and we were gonna eat lunch. But we passed all the places because the other way is road construction. I didn't want to get caught in. So we go the other direction. And I'm driving and we pass all these things and I see a restaurant and it was like a really skanky restaurant. Like it looked run down, and out of humor, because we had passed 40 of them, I was coming around this corner. I drove into the parking lot because it was on a curve. I drove into the parking lot at probably 50 miles an hour and I hit my brakes because well, then there's a fence back there. So like I U-turn and I pull up in the front slot and I'm with my buddy Cody and I was like, well, we're here. And it was like, this is not a place that you'd go to. Like it looked disgusting. So he's like, you really want to eat here? It's called Frank and Shirley's. It had been there since 1940.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Frank and Shirley's.
That's actually impressive.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I opened the door and it smelled like hamburgers, but like good ones. You know, and so I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm gonna get a hamburger. So we walk in. And I order a hamburger, but I get a double, you know, because I'm chubby. I order the same hamburger every time, doesn't matter where I'm at. Always. I get a double meated cheeseburger with grilled onions and grilled jalapenos, always. That's how I can gauge how good they are, because that's what I get.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I added bacon on that one. So I said, yeah, I want a double cheeseburger. She's like, do you just want two? Do you want two cheeseburgers? I'm like, no, I just want a double, like, I just want a double cheeseburger. She's like, yeah, but it's cheaper if you just buy two cheeseburgers. I'm like, ma'am, I'm not like trying to argue about it, but how is it cheaper to waste a bun and more lettuce? You know, I don't want that crap anyway, but how is it cheaper to give me a whole other burger than just to put another patty on there? Yeah. And she's like, well, it is, and it's going to cost a lot more if you want that extra patty. And I'm like, what? So I can order two cheeseburgers, and then I can just take the meat off that one and put it on there myself, and it's way cheaper because that's harder to do. She's like, yes, sir. And I'm like, okay, Frank and Shirley's. This is why I was able to drive through your parking lot at 50 miles an hour, because nobody's there, and it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. How does that even add up?
That doesn't make sense.
No, it's like the other day. I'll say, for the sake of the podcast, I was doing this promotion thing on the podcast, and like that I was paying for, and so it's like, one day. Listen to this math here. We'll just keep it simple. But one day is $5. 10 days is 100. 30 days is 500. Does that even? Can that person do math? No deal in the world. Every deal in the world, every food item, deal, special ever, the more you order, the less it becomes per item.
Yes.
And then they text me back, and they're like, so you ready to sign up for the 10-day? No, I'll just do the 1 day every day. The 2 days, like 2 days. 2 days, 5. 10 days, 100. Like, are you serious? This is, anybody can be a fiver.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I rolled through Fiverr. That's what I did. Somebody didn't know math. They're real good at computers.
So how was the burger, though?
Oh, did I get that far?
No.
It was unbelievable.
So you got two different burgers and combined it into one?
No, because I refused to give up on how stupid it was. And I'm like, why don't you just put it on there and then I'll just pay whatever it is? So that's actually the end of the story.
It was good, though? That's
how it ended, because that's what I said. Yeah, it was good. And then, they had these pies. I thought they had chocolate pie, which, if somebody has, listen, people, you can send this for my birthday one day. I like blackberry cobbler, chocolate pies,
German chocolate cake.
Well, I for sure like that, but I was like trying to keep the pie routes.
Oh, I got you.
Pumpkin pie. I like pumpkin pie. I like pies better than cakes. And yes, I do love German chocolate cake. By the way, it's amazing. It's an amazing deal you did. Remember that time you made me 2 cakes?
Yeah. Yeah.
We told that on here, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. For anybody that didn't listen, then Leighton, I swear he called and he said, "What's your favorite cake?" Which one came first? Did you make the red velvet first?
I made the red velvet for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he calls. He's like, "Hey, what's your favorite?" This is what he said. What's your favorite cake? I said, red velvet. That's what I said. Yeah. But you said.
I said, what is your wife's favorite cake?
That's what you said, but I don't think you did.
No, you looked up the text and saw it.
Well, yeah, but I don't. It was a text?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think he resent it and used different words.
Yeah.
But we get there. And you said, tell the story. What's the story?
Well, then I go to your wife and I was like, oh, look at this cake. You know, like I didn't say it was for her. And then she was like, oh, yeah, that looks really good, but I don't really like coconut. And then I look at Lloyd.
Oh, for the German chocolate?
Yeah, who's sitting crisscross applesauce on the couch, all kicked back. And I was like, what the heck, Lloyd? And you're like, what? And I said, well, she doesn't even like coconut. And you're like, yeah, you made it for me, right?
I thought you said it was for me.
No.
I think do you know, I don't know, let's educate people. Do you know that you can edit your text now?
Now, but
you probably removed it.
That was before the iOS update.
You possibly removed it. You know, Netflix. I think Netflix, I was going to say they've ruined everything. I appreciate what you're doing. You're right.
There goes our next sponsor.
Well, they didn't ruin everything. I'm saying that so when I was a kid, a TV show would come out and you'd watch it. I watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air come out. That was my favorite show when I was a kid. Used to watch Family Matters. Those were ones that I would watch every time they would come on. And you would watch it, and then it was that night of the week, and then that was it. Like, then you had to wait till next week. Outside of After the News, you might watch Roseanne or Cheers or whatever, but like that's it. Netflix, the way it operates now, I don't watch any show if it's not all out.
Yeah.
Like if it doesn't all come out, I'm not watching it. So HBO, when they still put out a series, let's just say it's like a 10-week series, they put out one a week, and they're still doing that. I'm not watching the show until it's got to be
all the way out.
Yeah, because I don't want to just watch one and be like, oh man, I can't wait till next week. I'm not doing that because I already forget what happens next week.
But the beauty. What's
the beauty?
The beauty in like how when we grew up and it was you watched an episode, you had to wait a week. The thing that I liked about that, at least, if I had a buddy that watched the same thing, we'd watch that episode, go to school, talk about it, and then we'd be all amped up for the next week. Instead of just binge watching the whole thing and say I was still in school, then I'd go to my buddy and be like, oh, hey, have you watched blah, 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 blah? And he's on episode 3 out of 10. Well, I can't really talk about anything.
Well, okay, that's actually a good point. I was going to add that. That you could do, because I will not talk to anybody about any show that they're putting out one a week, like in a series, if it's like HBO or whatever. I don't talk to people about it.
No, you can't, or you're going to get spoiled.
But my wife, she's the worst. She's the worst. We always act like we're going to watch a series together. She's terrible. Here's what happens. Like right now, when I finish, I'm going to call it movie night. We're going to go watch movies. And we're going to start a movie, and she's going to pause it 40 times. That 1.5 hour movie is going to last 4 hours, and then you can't watch the next one. Let's pretend it was a series that we started watching. And then she's like, I'm ready for bed. I'm not going to bed. Like, it's 9:30. I'm going to watch another one. Like, I'm not doing that. And then if it's like one that we were going to watch together, I may show up the next week, and then she's watched 8 of them, and I'm still on 2 or 3, and I'm like, well, I thought we were going to watch it together. And now, no, but that's not even the infuriating part. So I'm like, all right, well, if we're not watching together, then I'll just go watch them all, and then I'll finish the show, and then I'll be like, hey, did you watch the last show yet? She's like, no, I just looked it up.
That's actually crazy.
No, that's why I refused it. Here's what people don't know. Listen, here's people don't know this. Some people know it about me. If I have something in my head that I'm going to do, if it's in my head, I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. I am going to do it because that's what I said I was going to do it, and that's what I'm going to do. That Branson trip will never happen again the way it just happened, ever. If
I'll never live that down.
If it was somebody else's idea and I decided to go, I am along for the ride. If it's my idea, I'm no longer sacrificing because it makes me mad. Like it burns me up. Like you have no idea how mad it makes me. So I want to watch a movie and she'll say, "Don't watch it without me." I'm like, okay, well, you want to watch it? No, I can't today. I'm like, all right, so we'll wait. This used to be in the theaters. It was in the theaters, not Netflix. You can get it anytime now. But so the movie's out, but you got to get there. I'm like, okay, you want to go watch it this time? Don't watch it without me. I can't be there yet. And then you float around like another week or 2 weeks. And like, all right, hey, you want to go watch the movie? She's like, I can't tonight. And then the movie's not in the theater anymore, and it infuriates me because this is times. Because even now there's still a little lag in between the theater and when it comes out, and when you just can't get it, and I got to wait 6 months later, and I didn't watch it because I was waiting on her. I don't wait. I do not wait anymore.
Oh yeah, back in the day, you'd have to wait for it to hit the Blockbuster.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I was just talking about this the other day. I don't remember if it was on the podcast, but you had to. They would charge you if you didn't rewind. Did we talk about this on the podcast, or I just talk about it randomly? Yeah, they would charge you if you didn't rewind.
Yeah, that's the stupidest thing I've.
No, I don't remember how much, but $1.49 if you don't rewind. Like, I'm sure, and I don't know. Maybe they had 10,000 movies coming in a day, but when they had that special rewind machine that they're going to charge you $1.49, they could put it in that machine and it would rewind it in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those days. I talked about that was like what you want to do. It was special. If it was a weekend, like, can we go to because you're from Locust Grove, if you're going to Blockbuster, this is Disney World.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Can we go to Blockbuster?
Yep.
Because in Locust Grove, in this tiny town I lived in, if they had a video game you wanted to play, well, I mean, there's also 500 other kids in that town in one video store. So if you didn't get it, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't there at all. And they may occasionally have more than one, but not, it's not like they have, wasn't like Blockbuster. So you go to Blockbuster and get whatever you wanted, games and movies. Or those rare times where you'd walk in, if it was some kind of real famous movie, and they'd have a whole display where there'd be like 200 of them.
Yeah, like one wall.
Yeah, but they're all out. That's the worst.
Oh yeah, you'd flick the display to see if the clear case, or actually, I think that was DVDs. The VHS, I think, if I remember correctly, you had to open the box to see if the video was in there. Or did they still have the display? I can't remember. It's been
I've done it both ways. I'm
pretty sure I remember opening the boxes to see if the VHS was in there, and you'd be like, "Dang it!" And then the big wall of display you'd have to go through. And
yeah, I've done it both ways because what happened is the grocery store across the street started selling videos. Also, they thought they could compete, and they did, but it still wasn't like Star Time. Because we've had this talk about Start Time Video. Remember, I said it on the podcast. If they still had that to this day, because there was the private room back there,
the secret room,
yeah, for the prevert.
Yeah,
and I'm like, who would even walk back there? The whole town. I know I brought it up before. The whole town knows what's in that room. If you walked out of that room,
and everybody knows everybody in that small of a town.
Yeah, look, what are you doing, Randy? Everybody knew what was in the back room.
Yeah.
The smut room. Can't even believe that was allowed in my tiny town. 400 churches, 500 people live in the town, and we got that kind of skank room back there. Unbelievable. Come on, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I don't even know if Greg's alive, but it's a fine store. My friend's now in that store.
That's cool.
That store. No, not. Excuse me. There was like a whole complex. There was a convenience store attached to it. My friend owns the convenience store. He didn't. He may own that building, but he didn't.
Yeah, he doesn't have the skank.
He don't have a side operation.
He doesn't have a side hustle.
He rents it out. So yeah, no fancy room there. I remember that. That's a very vivid memory. Probably was for most people.
Oh yeah,
the whole town knew what was back there. I can't stress it enough. Like I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm not saying names. I'd go to the fire station because Dad was on a volunteer fire department, and I'm not this way. And to be honest, I think it's weird. I think it's weird. But back when, remember Cinemax and HBO, and they used to, called Skinemax, and because at nighttime they showed these, not healthy movies.
No.
And I go to the fire station. You'd see those firemen in there, and there'd be like 12 of them piled in the room. Like, look at that! Look at that! And I just remember as a kid, because they'd all be packed in around this one TV that had the wooden box around the tube or whatever. And you'd try to walk in there. Like, no, get back, get back, get back. I wish camera phones existed back then.
Oh yeah.
Just because I wouldn't even have to take a picture of what's on the TV. I would just get on a video like, these guys just kicked me out. Look at these perverts in the room. There's 15 of them. Like, grow up. Good Lord. I mean, I'll never forget that. Yeah, those. Anyway, I don't want to talk. Have you guys heard of the Route 66 Native Arts
I've never heard of that. What is that?
Oh yeah, it's a new sponsor.
Really?
We're sponsored. How's that work? You guys know.
Y'all, the Life and Times podcast teamed up with them.
Oh yeah, it's a team up sponsorship. That's how it went. Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, tell you what, Leighton, let's get off here.
Let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I've had enough of this, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Lifetimes podcast this week. Put Pete. You know what? Oh my!
And I have something to say.
I'm gonna make a Pete Rose painting, but in
Native American.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. What are you going to say?
And newly, make sure Dwayne Wade gets in the Hall of Fame. He's a finalist. So until he's actually in, put Dwayne Wade in the Hall of Fame.
Leighton is he's a part of the podcast now, but just coming from a guy who did 100 of them by myself, we're not going to be saying put that guy in the Hall of Fame after the end of this show.
Dwayne Wade.
I love everybody. Have a good week.